Before we dive in, remember, facing the dark side of ourselves isn't easy. But if this video resonates with you, consider liking and subscribing. That way, we continue together on this journey of mirrors and truths no one wants to hear, but everyone needs. You don't want love. You want to be wanted. At any cost. That's the truth Lacan left us, and it's darker than you think. Love? You think it's about giving. It's not. It's about being seen, being chosen, being validated. Every "I love you" hides a silent plea. Do you love me back? Do you see me? Am I enough for you to want? The wound begins there. Because what you crave is not the other person, not their soul, not their essence. You crave their desire. Think about it. When someone stops wanting you, it feels like dying, like vanishing into nothing, as if you never existed. That's why you chase texts, likes, the unread messages. That's why you stay in broken relationships, not because of love, but because of the terror of not being wanted. This is Lacan's dark truth. You don't love the person. You love the reflection of yourself in their eyes. And without that reflection, you collapse. So ask yourself, are you really in love? Or are you just addicted to being wanted?
Lacan said the self is born in a mirror. A baby, no older than 6 months, sees their reflection for the first time. And something irreversible happens. The child suddenly recognizes, that image is me. It's a lie, of course, because the baby doesn't really know who they are. They can't walk. They can't speak. They can't even control their own body. They are fragmented, clumsy, helpless. But in the mirror, they see something different. A version of themselves that looks whole. A body that appears united. A face that seems to belong to them. And in that moment, a dangerous illusion begins. The illusion that I am what I see. That my identity lives in the reflection. Fast forward to adulthood. You don't stand in front of the bathroom mirror anymore. You stand in front of Instagram, TikTok, dating apps, screens that reflect you back, not with glass, but with likes, comments, swipes, and hearts. This is not just technology. It's the modern mirror stage. You don't look at yourself directly. You look at how others look at you. Every selfie, every profile picture, every curated post is a negotiation. You retouch, filter, crop, choose angles. Not because you want to see yourself, but because you want to be seen. Think about that carefully. The baby in Lacan's mirror wasn't really discovering themselves, they were discovering a fiction. And so are you. When you scroll, you're not discovering who you are. You're searching for the version of yourself that others will recognize, validate, desire. And what happens when you don't get that validation? You feel incomplete. You feel invisible. You start doubting if you even exist in the eyes of the world. That's why social media is addictive. It's not just dopamine, not just the ping of a notification, it's ontological. It's existential. The ping tells you, yes, you're real, you're wanted, you still exist in someone else's gaze. Without that, something inside collapses. It feels like rejection, but deeper, like erasure. Without the gaze, you are nobody. That's why silence hurts more than insult. That's why ghosting feels worse than betrayal. because hate at least acknowledges your existence. Silence makes you disappear. We live inside that trap. Our identities outsourced to the mirrors we don't control. Every day you wake up not asking, "Who am I?" but "Who am I in their eyes?" And this dependence reshapes every detail of modern life. It's not just about beauty standards. It's not just about clout or likes. It's about survival. Because if nobody sees you, nobody validates you, the self that was born in the mirror begins to crack. The baby in Lacan's mirror cried until the parent returned. The adult in today's world refreshes the feed until the world responds. Different technology, same wound. This is the prison of the gaze, and most people never leave it.
Here's the truth Lacan pressed like a knife against our throat. You never really desire the thing. You desire the desire of the other. Listen carefully. When you say you want someone, you don't just want their body, their mind, their presence. You want to know they want you back. It's not the object of desire that matters. It's the confirmation that you are the object of theirs. Think about attraction. A person becomes infinitely more desirable once you sense others are drawn to them. Why? Because it's not just their qualities that seduce you, it's the reflection of those qualities in the eyes of others. You want the aura, the confirmation, the seal of approval. This is why desire spreads like fire. It's contagious. We want what others want, not because the thing itself has changed, but because we see it through the eyes of another. A handbag, a car, a job, even a partner. The object glows only because someone else's gaze lit it up. And here's the brutal part. What you crave is not the object. What you crave is the echo of the other's hunger. You want to be chosen. You want to be wanted. And without that, even the most precious thing in your hands feels hollow. Look at relationships. How many times have you thought you loved someone, only to realize later that what you really loved was their attention, the way they made you feel seen, the way their desire seemed to crown you with worth? Strip away that attention, and suddenly the love withers. Not because the person changed, but because the reflection is gone. This is why betrayal cuts so deeply. It's not just about losing the person, it's about losing the mirror. It's about realizing their desire is aimed elsewhere, and without that desire pointed at you, your sense of being collapses. The same logic rules ambition. You think you want success, money, beauty, influence, but what you really want is what they symbolize: the gaze of the other, applause, recognition, proof that you matter. Every milestone only makes sense if someone else is watching. A victory without witnesses feels like nothing. Lacan shows us that desire is always triangular. There's you, there's the object, and there's the other, the invisible audience that gives meaning to the chase. Remove the other, and the entire structure falls apart. That's why desire never satisfies, because what you want is not the thing itself, but the endless confirmation that someone else also wants it and wants you to have it. It's a hunger that can never be fed, because its object is not real. It's relational. It depends on the other. And so your entire sense of self becomes unstable. You think you're chasing love, beauty, wealth, but you're really chasing shadows of validation. Every triumph fades. Every possession turns cold. Every relationship starts to feel empty, because what you really wanted wasn't the thing itself. It was the glow of being wanted in someone else's eyes. This is the cruel joke Lacan exposes. You don't want love. You want to be wanted. You don't want freedom. You want the gaze that tells you you're free. You don't even want happiness, not without someone there to recognize it. Your desire is never yours alone. It's borrowed, reflected, dependent. And until you see this, you'll mistake every hollow object for salvation, and then wonder why the emptiness always returns. This is not just philosophy. It's the architecture of human pain. It's why consumer culture thrives. It's why relationships collapse. It's why your victories taste like dust in your mouth. Because what you're hunting isn't love or truth or success. You're hunting the impossible, to exist fully in the desire of the other.
If Lacan is right, and desire is never about the object, but about the other, then every relationship you've ever had was never just between two people. It was a stage, a performance, a play for validation. Think about love. You say, "I love you," but hidden behind those words is the real demand. Tell me you love me too. Show me that I matter. The gift of flowers, the late-night text, the good morning message, they're not pure expressions of care. They're signals, attempts to secure the response that says, "Yes, I see you. Yes, I want you." Friendship isn't exempt either. You laugh together, you share secrets, you stand side by side, but beneath it, you're watching. Does my friend still choose me? Do they call when they could call someone else? Am I the one they seek when the world falls apart? Because if not, a silent crack forms, the suspicion that maybe, in their eyes, you don't exist as much as you thought. Even work is not free from this theater. Your ambition is rarely just about achievement. It's about applause. The promotion, the raise, the award, the recognition, each one is an echo of the same demand. Do they want me? Do they value me? And when they don't, the office becomes a theater of ghosts. You keep acting, but the audience has left. Every human connection carries this silent contract. I will play my part if you play yours. I will give you my desire if you return it with yours. And that's why relationships so often feel like negotiations, because deep down, they are. Love becomes a transaction. Friendship becomes a scoreboard. Work becomes a theater of masks. And here's the cruel part. Even manipulation, even betrayal, still operates on this same stage. Why does jealousy hurt? Because it reminds you that the gaze of the other has shifted. Why does ghosting feel like death? Because it tears the stage curtain down. Suddenly you realize you're performing alone, in the dark, with no audience left to see you. We keep calling this love, but what if it's something else? What if it's survival? Because the truth is, to exist in the gaze of the other feels like safety, and to lose it feels like annihilation. This is why so many stay in toxic relationships, not because of love, but because of terror. The terror of being unseen, the terror of silence, the terror of existing without the confirmation of someone else's desire. And here's the paradox. You manipulate, and you allow yourself to be manipulated, because anything feels better than vanishing. Even lies, even abuse, even pain. That's the hidden script we rarely admit. You don't just want connection. You want to be the chosen one. You want to stand in the spotlight of someone else's eyes. And if that light fades, the entire performance collapses. It sounds bleak, but it's the truth Lacan forces us to see. Our relationships are not pure. They're structured by lack, by hunger, by the endless need for the other's gaze. And the scariest part? The person you love is not the person you see. They're the mirror, the audience, the one who reflects your existence back at you. And if they turn away, it feels like death. Because, in a way, it is.
Everything holds as long as the other keeps watching.
as long as you feel desired, validated, confirmed. But what happens when that gaze is withdrawn? This is the collapse, the silent implosion of the self. Think about rejection. It's not just that someone says no, it's that their no feels like erasure. It tells you, you don't exist for me anymore. You are nothing here. That's why heartbreak feels like death, because, in Lacanian terms, it is the death of the version of you that lived in the other's eyes. Abandonment carries the same violence. When someone walks away, they don't just leave the room. They take the mirror with them. And suddenly, you're left staring into a void. No reflection, no confirmation, only the raw terror of not being wanted. And in today's world, we've created an even sharper blade, ghosting. Ghosting doesn't even give you the dignity of words. It leaves you suspended in silence. And silence is the cruelest answer. Because in silence, you're not just unloved, you're erased. You can't even tell if the play is over because the audience has disappeared without applause. That's why ghosting haunts people more than explicit rejection. Rejection wounds your pride, but silence eats your existence. It leaves you asking, do I even matter? Did I ever? The collapse doesn't stop at relationships. It extends into every space where we rely on the other's gaze, the unfollow, the message left on read, the photo that gets ignored, the promotion that never comes. The stage lights go out, and suddenly you're speaking into darkness. And that's when the truth of Lacan cuts the deepest. You never loved the person or the job or the audience. You loved being loved by them. You loved existing in their eyes. And when they turn away, it feels like annihilation. People call it heartbreak, but Lacan would call it a fracture of the self, because the I that was born in the mirror has no foundation of its own. It always needed the reflection to stay alive. Take away the reflection, and the I collapses like glass shattering on stone. That's why loss lingers, why grief echoes for years. Not because the person was perfect, not because the opportunity was unique, but because your being was invested in their gaze. And when it disappears, you don't just lose them, you lose yourself. This is why desperation emerges after rejection. The late-night texts, the pleading, the bargaining. It's not just about wanting them back. It's about trying to resurrect yourself in their desire. You want the mirror to return so you can feel alive again. And sometimes you'll accept anything for that, even humiliation, even abuse, even the false hope of crumbs. Because even crumbs of desire feel better than the void. That's the collapse. It's not just sadness, it's an existential vertigo, a fall into nothingness when the other's gaze is gone. And until you see this pattern, you'll keep mistaking the collapse for romance or grief or bad luck. But it's none of those. It's the structural truth of human desire, a truth we spend our whole lives trying to escape.
Here is the hardest truth. You will never escape the gaze of the other. Not fully, because it's built into the very structure of desire. You can try. You can meditate, detach, say you don't care. You can burn the bridges, block the numbers, delete the apps, but even in silence, even in solitude, a shadow remains. You'll still wonder, what do they think of me? Do they notice my absence? Do I exist in their memory? That's how deep the prison goes. Your sense of being is not self-contained. It is relational, born in the mirror, kept alive in the gaze.
And that means the desire of the other will always haunt you. So what's the point? Are we doomed to live as puppets of validation, forever chasing a reflection we don't control? Not exactly. Because there is a difference between being unconscious in the trap and becoming conscious of it. When you don't see the structure, you obey it blindly. You mistake the hunger for love. You mistake validation for meaning. You beg, you perform, you collapse when the gaze disappears. But when you see the mechanism, when you recognize that your desire is shaped by the other, something shifts. You don't become free, but you gain a crack of freedom inside the prison walls. You start asking different questions. Not, do they want me? But why do I need them to? Not, how can I win their gaze? But what happens if I stop performing for it? You don't destroy the mirror, but you stop confusing it with your soul. You begin to live with the awareness that love, friendship, ambition, all of them carry this hidden economy of validation. And with that awareness, you can choose differently. You can enter relationships not just to be wanted, but to see how much you want too. You can work not just for applause, but for the quiet satisfaction that remains when the audience is gone. You could let the gaze matter without letting it define everything. And this subtle shift changes everything. It won't erase the hunger, it won't silence the echo, but it gives you distance. It gives you lucidity. And sometimes lucidity is more powerful than liberation. Because the truth is, you will always be a mirror seeking a reflection. That's the condition of being human. But maybe you don't need the perfect reflection to survive. Maybe you can learn to stand, cracked but unbroken, even when the mirror is dark. This is not the happy ending people crave. It's not the false promise of total freedom, but it's real. It's the only kind of freedom Lacan allows us, the freedom of awareness, the freedom of seeing the wound without pretending it can be erased. And maybe that's enough. To know that what you call love is also hunger, that what you call success is also performance, that what you call desire is also dependence. Because once you know, you stop being fooled. And when you stop being fooled, you stop being fully controlled. That's the escape. Not breaking the chains, but seeing them clearly. Not silencing the wound, but finally listening to it. You can't kill the other. You can't silence the gaze. You can't rip yourself out of the mirror, but you can learn to see it for what it is. Love is never pure. It's never untouched by the hunger to be seen. Every I love you secretly whispers, do you still want me? The wound is not about erasing this need. It's about staring straight into it, recognizing that the reflection you chase may never arrive, and still choosing to remain human, to risk intimacy, knowing validation is never guaranteed, to love not because it frees you, but because it exposes you. This is the paradox. You don't want love, you want to be wanted. And the moment you admit that, you step closer to something more honest than love. Something raw, something terrifying, something real. If this moved something inside you, stay. We're building something for those who don't fake it. Subscribe, not just for the content, but for the confrontation. And if this left a wound, maybe it was meant to. Sometimes the best way to go deeper is to share the pain. Share it. We all want to be loved, but deeper than that, we crave to be wanted. If you saw yourself in this, even uncomfortably, don't run from it. Share it. Because sometimes the reflection we're searching for is hidden in the wounds of those who are also searching.